Hello, here we are back in the car again. My favorite spot to talk to whoever's listening. Okay, so I don't know. I've been thinking about what I want to share the most, and I always go back and forth about like how much do I share about my personal experience without it negatively reflecting on another person. And that's where I usually get all up in my head about stuff. And I have to realize that everybody is in charge of their own emotional well-being. And as long as I tell my truth, I am okay. Because it's all part of the story, and there is no judgment. So when I share pieces about my past, I don't mean to reflect on anyone in a negative way. These are the actions that were taken, and it's the way we learn. Actually, one of my daughters has had this since she was little, where we would have her spelling test, and she would come home and I would have her take the test, like a pre-test, just to be like, okay, how many of these words do you kind of know? And she would end up knowing, more than half, which I thought was great because these are brand spanking new words that this kid's never heard. This is like 6 years old, first grade, second grade. And I would explain to her, like, she would have this meltdown after she only knew half the words, that, she felt dumb and not smart and like a failure in all these ways. And I'm like, girl, this is why you're doing this, so that you can see what you know and what you don't know. It's the grading part that, and the programming of what the grading means. Like, yes, it should be a representation of how accurately you know something, not the judgment behind the grade. So anyway, that's a whole nother video. I know I'm always doing that, but I have so much to share. Anyway, I've just noticed this throughout my life also. Like, I don't know what I don't know, and I need to continue offering more grace all the time for these things that I'm learning about myself and other people. And we're just, again, I'm going to use Ram Dass, all just walking each other home, back to our heart space, back to peace, back to remembering our divinity, walking together. Yes, we are allowed our emotions. Yes, we are allowed to be angry. Yes, we are allowed to be sad. All of those things are part of the human experience. So by all means do that. It's how and what we do with our emotions, whether we project them or use them to alchemize and raise our vibration and frequency. So I want to talk a little bit, partly because about relationships. I'm all into what I call union vibes. And it's one of the services I really hope to share with people, especially the ones I'm a minister. And so when I marry people, I want to offer that piece of it also. I've noticed that a lot of the things I offer are very like a minister, but like a modern minister. So without all the religious dogma and stuff. So this relationship piece, the union vibe, what I call union vibes, and I feel like it's more union with yourself, the highest version of yourself, union with your creator, union with your divinity in relationship to everyone else around you, right? So that your relationships become unions, but you maintain your own union also. So I'm not explaining it very well, I don't think, but we can get more into that later because I'm trying to tell a little story. But currently I think Venus is about to go retrograde, and that usually involves relationships and stuff like that. So a lot of relationships may be on the altar right now to decide, like, what's happening with these relationships. Are we gonna keep going? Are we gonna work on it? Are we gonna move into a new phase of our relationship? And this can mean in marriages, this can mean in work. How can we redefine the relationship? I don't think relationships are going to look the same as they have in the past. The systematic approach to everything has got to go. And it's that unconscious part of us that is the systematic part. And I talk about that a lot. I'm really not a big fan of the broad stroke of the sword. Really not a fan of that. And that's gotten us into a lot of trouble. I don't know how we take it down into smaller communities and knowing each other, but I think that's the way. And I want to talk about a particular facet of my marriage, my first marriage, and how that started to crumble, honestly, around my Saturn return. So that's kind of some fun information to have. But things just started to I got married when I was 27, and we had dated for 2 years. I didn't realize I was codependent. I didn't understand what that looked like. But I had become emotionally responsible for people's well-being, and that's a childhood thing that I am finally wrapping up. Let's hope. At least I'm aware of when it's happening, so I'm in a much better place about it. But first you have to acknowledge that it's there. So, I think I've expressed this before, that our marriage was not great. Communication was not great. I was codependent. We really weren't the best partners for each other in the end. And it was a cosmic marriage, just as it was a cosmic divorce. So I want to say that it's exactly as it's supposed to be. It was all supposed to be this way. And so any actions that were taken in between just create, texture to the story. So we weren't having a great relationship. My partner had an affair, and it kind of blew things up in a way. And honestly, the reason I filed for divorce was not because of the affair. It's because I didn't like the person I was when we were together. And so I needed to end that cycle. I didn't want to be in defense of every part of my action, any part of myself, for the rest of my life. So that's kind of why I decided that this can't go on anymore. So what I will say is that I know how to be in relationship, and I know what it takes to have a good, healthy relationship. You just really need partners at some point in the game to like practice these tools. So I'm trying a little bit more in my friendships and my relationships with my children, a relationship with my clients, at the salon, strangers, just whoever I meet. I'm trying to use these things that I know are the way it should work. And in my case with my first marriage, I can imagine him coming to me and being honest up front. Now, you have to have space in your thinking. You have to have space between the feelings and the actions. I always talk about the space. I love the space. The space between gives you an opportunity to choose. But in hindsight, how I see that going is he recognizes that he's attracted to someone else. And in that scenario, he comes to me because we're in union together. We've committed to this relationship. And he says, I'm attracted to someone else. What does that mean for our marriage? That concerns me. I know we're struggling. We don't have the same connection. And then I get to say, wow, that triggers my ego. I'm feeling insecure and I don't know what that's about. I still love you. I'd like to see what we can do to make this more clear for both of us. Because, at some point, if he's not attracted to me and I'm likely not attracted to him, or if he's attracted to someone else, there's work there. There's things to note and to explore. Now, the way he did it was fine. We still worked through everything, and there's just a little bit more bumpy ride in that scenario, but he got remarried to someone else, not the same person in the story. I helped work them through their relationship a few times. I love them together. He is a wonderful soul, and he is a human going through his phase as much as I am a human going through my stuff. So, no disrespect by this, but I know how it works, right? I really do think that if you're finding yourself struggling in your relationship, if you can take a moment to stop and decide, wow, I need to go to this person I'm in relationship with and have this conversation before I move into something else. I remember speaking with one of my clients recently, and it was a weird little thing that popped into my head about what happens if your old reality collides with your new reality, and they both overlap. And I think that happens a lot, or it happens as a way to make things end, to force things to end that aren't really serving your highest good. So don't be afraid of your relationships. Don't be afraid of the friction. Don't be afraid of the things that are going to hurt, because that's where the magic is. That's the place of alchemy. Really, honestly, what hurt the most was the holding on. But even in that, I recognize it was my inner child, because I should be able to love just completely openly. And there's a phrase, I think it's like, hold on tightly, let go lightly. And I love that. And it's like, hold on, to all the magic, to all the love, to all the experiences as you're having them. But when it's time for them to end, man, it's just easier to let go and let go and let Gus. Let the universe, let your angels, let your guides, let your higher self, let your heart lead you the rest of the way. And I've been working diligently over the last 7 or 8 years to work through all kind of unconscious programming, and it just continues to blow my mind about how many things I was doing without thought, without space. So big love to my ex-husband. I do not want anybody to see that and think I think poorly of him. He has dealt with his piece of this. He has asked for his own forgiveness in his own ways. And that is beautiful. It was all necessary, and it was beautiful. I even remember thinking, I understand that at some level we wanted to feel guilt and shame and hate and just all the good emotions, or what we'd say good, the fun emotions, and all the icky ones, because that's a full human experience. And I remember at some point looking at him, it's like, I haven't known hate or oh God, I don't remember what the other one is now, but I did cover it. So distrust, or I don't remember what it was, but it was real icky. And he gave me that gift. And how cool is that? Like, you got to be really invested to feel those things. And that's, if you didn't get invested, you never get to feel the depth of those things. And anyway, it's just super cool. So I invite you to dig into your relationships, dig into the gritty part, the shadow work. That's the stuff. Oh my gosh, the shadow work. I know in spiritual communities, that's what they call it. Dark night of the soul. There's all kinds of like low vibrating moments in our lives, depression, where we try to resist some of that stuff. And I really highly suggest you don't. I notice it like in an easy, subtle way. Like, I can explain the shadow work, or connecting with your shadow is like, I talk about the Enneagram a lot, because it's really good about showing the lower levels of your personality showing up. And most people have a hard time hearing that. They only want to see the good stuff. They only want to know, oh, look at this cute, quirky, good stuff that I do. And then they get real triggered when they think they might be wrong, or that they might have issues. But like, no, everybody's got issues. We all got issues. And if you're not willing to look at where you are part of the equation, not part of the problem, part of the equation, we're never going to figure it out. So I highly recommend shadow work, inner child work. I always thought they were very hokey, but I definitely dive in, play in the icky emotions, play with your relationships, use them to spiral higher, use them to evolve your soul, use them to harmonize your relationship to all things. So my advice is, when it comes to union vibes, is really just be honest with the people you've made commitments with, right? Like, have those conversations, and don't be afraid of what comes up when you have them. It's you can't really mess it up. Things will end when they're supposed to end. They may overlap, which makes things a little triggering and a little bit stickier, but it's all part of the fun, part of the show. And anyway, if you have questions about union vibes and your relationship to yourself, your children, your husband, your wife, somebody you're working with, the cashier at the grocery store, your vehicle, your nature, like that, you have relationships to everything in your life. But reach out, let me know if I can help. Okay, I've come a long way and I've picked up lots of tricks and tools, but that's my sharing for now. Good luck with Venus retrograde. Sending you much love and magic as always.